Virgin Atlantic has been fined $1.05 million by the U.S. Department of Transportation, or US DOT, for repeatedly violating Iraqi flyover restrictions in 2020 and 2021. Why? Because the violating flights were codeshares with US carrier Delta Airlines. Let's look at this interesting situation in today's video. In a filing by the US DOT, the governing body confirmed that Virgin Atlantic had entered restricted airspace on several occasions between September 2020 and 2021 while using Delta Airlines code on flights between the UK and India. While other governments permitted air travel at high altitudes during the period, the US Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, barred overflight in the Baghdad Flight Information Region, or FIR, in March 2020 due to heightened militia activities and increased tensions in the country. As Virgin Atlantic was operating with a US-based carrier's code, it was required to obtain approval from the FAA before flights. The US DOT informed Virgin of the violation in September 2021, slapping the carrier with a cease and desist order to prevent future violations. The airline swiftly adjusted its flight paths to avoid the restricted airspace. Following an investigation, the US DOT ruled that the carrier would be required to pay a $1.05 million fine, with a payment required if Virgin Atlantic repeats the violation. In its response to the US DOT, Virgin Atlantic accepted responsibility for its failure to adhere to regulations, citing operational disruption and crew shortages during the COVID-19 pandemic, causing the inadvertent overflights. The carrier stated that it believed the penalty should be mitigated given the circumstances, but agreed to pay the settlement to avoid further litigation. Within the US DOT's ruling, the carrier said that it, quote, takes seriously its responsibility to comply with all department regulations and requirements in its operating permits, including the requirement not to operate flights carrying a U.S. carrier's designator code that enter, depart, or transit the airspace of any area for whose airspace the FAA has issued a flight prohibition for U.S. civil aviation. Virgin Atlantic added that it has historically complied with this requirement. In a similar incident in 2020, Emirates was penalized for code sharing with JetBlue on flights that passed over Iran in July 2019. The Dubai-based carrier was fined $400,000 for operating in Tehran's FIR shortly after the FAA issued a NOTAM barring U.S. carriers from the country's airspace due to increased military activities and political tension around the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. While Emirates adhered to the order following the resumption of flights in the region, the airline had inadvertently retained JetBlue's code due to quote-unquote internal oversight. Emirates agreed to pay the penalty, though it did not believe it should be fined over a mistake. Like Virgin Atlantic, the airline's fee was significantly reduced for complying with the FAA's regulations. What are your thoughts on these types of violations? Should codeshare flights be treated as if the coded airline was actually flying? Let us know in the comments. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.